Yep.
And I'll leave that to Chris because, to be very honest, everything that I personally use is stuff that I've generated, photos, etc. I will even say this, for example, even the use of material in the New York Times. I know I had to deal with them on this issue when I was at Marist. The Times, again, because everybody's looking to find ways to generate revenue. Even the use of material in classes, not from the web. I have a paid subscription to the Times, et cetera, et cetera. But they're even cracking down on institutions of higher education that are using material in violation of copyright. So they're willing to license the use of their material for in classroom and other social media contexts, but you do have to pay a fee for that. And they are starting to hire the lawyers to go after places that do that. But just again, on a personal note, anything that I post on the blog is something I've written. I'll do links to other people's materials, but obviously it's a link directly to somebody else's material. I have to be honest with you, I don't use Pinterest. It's to be, again, being very honest, it's just a time matter for me. I do like looking at other folks' information on Pinterest. I like to cook, so I like to look at other people's recipes, for example. But I'll leave the technical legal aspects to Chris.
Okay. Chris, I don't know if you've heard of this too, but beyond the issue of liability, copyright, trademark, there's the issue of cost. Those images, that content, those files reside somewhere on a server. And as we all know, it costs lots of money to run servers and pay for advertising, pay for images. So whenever we pin, retweet, TwitPic, whenever we click on a link and redistribute that content, it's coming off somebody else's server and it's probably costing them money. So there's the issue of what they call borrowing bandwidth. Mm-hmm. And again, these are very finite points for the students listening in, but as you become more expert at social media and public relations and the integration of advertising, marketing, et cetera, you become the paid experts and consultants that have to have this expertise.
Right. I mean, you've got to be aware of it. And as I said, it's probably the second or third conversation I have with my client after we've signed a contract, because it goes from wrap some management around your social media, get everything set up, create your Google Plus page, your Pinterest page. We create custom headers on Facebook, and we sync applications. We do all this work, and then we say, great, now let's work on some ideas. And here are the ideas: contests, engagement. Here's the time of day that we're going to post. Here's the structure of the post. And the clients get excited, and I'm like, well, listen, you need to put some legal language in there because this is a sweepstakes. And just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean that it's not a sweepstakes. And people tend to discount what's happening within the social media ecosystem as being fun and games and toys, and it's big business. There's 1 billion people on Facebook. Now that it's a publicly traded entity, Mark Zuckerberg et al. Has a fiduciary responsibility to his shareholders in order to be responsible and have legal parameters around this type of activity within the social network, so they don't get brought down by a lawsuit because somebody said that they won something and didn't receive it and decided to sue them for $1 billion. It's a very, very serious issue.
And let me point out another example. I mean, when you're using content that could get you in trouble, I'm going to take the whole marriage equality issue. There's a group, National Organization for Marriage, which is against same-sex marriage. They have been exposed by very aggressive LGBT bloggers who have pointed out, for example, when National Organization for Marriage shows a picture of a rally in Washington, D.C., with hundreds of thousands of people around the mall, and then claims it as its own rally, when in fact it's a picture of a civil rights rally from 30 years before. You know, and there are many examples like that. For example, they'll show a family unit, traditional family unit, and use that. Well, then it turns out that sometimes those photos are stock photos or taken without the stock photo owner's permission. I'll give you one further example. There's a gentleman down in Virginia, Eugene Delgadio, who is a county legislator, if I remember correctly, in Loudoun County. And he took a wedding photo that was placed online, but actually it was from a friend of mine who graduated from Marist, and his husband. They had a same-sex marriage ceremony, and this person used that photo, sold the photo to an anti-gay candidate in Colorado, and that candidate used it in her campaign literature without the express consent of Tom, the Marist grad, or his partner, then husband. They are all now being sued by Tom, and it's being taken by American Civil Liberties Union and I believe the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's going to be a major court case. So, you know, again, these are sometimes, I'm going to editorialize here, there are some nefarious organizations that play hard and fast with the use of what they might consider to be something on the public domain, which is not in the public domain, and open themselves up to either on the light side, criticism, or on the heavy side, some major lawsuits coming their way very, very soon.
Okay, thank you. Let me get back to a couple questions. I'll combine two. Andre Barracks and Pat Hickey have asked questions from the standpoint of employees working for an organization that might be considering leveraging social media to get results from within the company or on the job. Pat's question in particular deals with probably one of the more social media averse industries, and that's the financial industry, banking. So I guess for Chris and Tim, what are the best steps to leverage social media within one's company? And in Pat Hickey's case, how do you use social media as a customer service tool if you're considering Twitter, let's say? And
if you're in banking?
If you're in banking, yeah.
Yeah, so...
and Pat makes the point that he hesitates to have the marketing department give up control over messaging to the customers. So it's the battle of being transparent over having control over your message.
So it's a tough one. I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I've written a couple of blog posts about it, specifically because my family's and my own personal financial planner are old family friends. And my father, unfortunately, has a terminal disease, and about a year ago, we met with two of our financial planners and brought my father in to see them. They hadn't seen him in about 2 years, and he was in a wheelchair with machines, and it was a bit of a scene, and they were upset when they saw him, and we were talking about my father's estate and how that would be handled. So it was a very emotional discussion. It was a very powerful day for our family, tough subject to talk about. And they got to talking about me and what I was doing with my business and Silverback Social and all this other fun stuff. And boy, isn't that interesting, and isn't this fascinating? Oh, you're just getting started in this, and that's wonderful. It's close to a year, so it's about 10 months ago. I was just starting Silverback Social. And I left, and they were asking me about social media and what they could do, and I said, well, you're heavily regulated. You can't do a darn thing. And we were brainstorming about how they could potentially promote what they were doing within the financial industry. They have technology that they use that allows them to essentially flip content over the fence, meaning, hey, this bit of content is approved. You cannot comment on it. You cannot offer your opinion on it because, frankly, you could potentially sway a market. So just tweet it. Just share it, and that's fine. And even that, just tweeting something, is potentially indicating interest, support, and or this is buzzworthy. This is something that's coming across the wire, and that's why I'm sharing it. So that's a slippery slope. However, my blog post, which was posted on social media today, gleaned a lot of readership, and I could send it to you guys as a follow-up post so I don't make the story too long. But what I did was I said, well, listen, you're heavily regulated. However, I really love what you do here, and I really love the custom hand-holding, and I really love the humanity behind what you do. And money is life. Unfortunately, money is, runs us. Money dictates what we do, how we do it, when we do it, and why we do it. And this was a big life moment that I just experienced with you guys. I wish I could kind of sing your praises from the top of the mountain. And I said, well, the heck with it, I will. I'll write a blog post about you guys because nobody can control what I'm saying about you, and nobody can control my great experience with you. I wrote the blog post. I posted it on my personal blog. I posted it on social media today. I sent it to the two financial planners, and then they said they ran it up the flagpole to their bosses and said, can we put it in our newsletter? They didn't generate the content. I generated the content. They were allowed to put it in their newsletter. So I guess the moral of that story is to encourage your happy customer to market to and through that happy customer and allow for a platform where the happy customer, by leveraging social media, can sing your praises without you singing your own praises. That make sense?
Yeah.
And let me give it, if I can give an example that just happened of that 2 days ago. I had come back from yet another trip, and the weather coming home was horrible. So the company put me up at a hotel right near the office. It was a Parsippany Courtyard Marriott. And I've had to stay there several times for late-night meetings, again, bad weather, didn't want to drive home, etc. And everybody there was always, just really, really nice to me. And, they would talk about how I came down from Poughkeepsie. One of the women, I was wearing a Marist athletic sweatshirt. One of the women behind the counter, her best friend went to Marist, and, it turns out I knew who she was. We're chatting, blah, blah, blah. And, they really made me feel good about staying there. And, they do little extra things when they get to know you. So just a very innocent tweet where I put out to, I think their handle is Courtyard Hotels or whatever it happens to be. And I said, the folks at your property in Parsippany always make me feel at home. I love staying here. You've got a great crew. Well, little did I know that the person in charge of that account is one of my former students from Marist, Jonathan Yance. He said he literally gasped when he saw I'd written that. He turned it in to Marriott Courtyard, and Courtyard sent people over to the hotel to praise the employees, to say, look, your customers appreciate what you do, and we appreciate what you do. I don't know what they did besides a pat on the back, but again, as Chris said, it's not Courtyard, that particular Courtyard, saying something nice. I had a good meal last night down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a foodie, and I tweeted the name of the restaurant, about the quality of the service and the quality of the food, which makes, and I'm glad my mom is not listening to this phone call, makes better roast chicken than my mom, and a bunch of people retweeted that last night, and friends of mine commented on Facebook, because two friends of mine happen to be down in Charlotte at the exact same time right now, and one of them sent me a text message and said, give me the address of that place, I want to go there for dinner tonight. So again, no pun intended, Chris is on the money here. Now, one other thing, if you're not talking about your business online, other people are. So, you've got to be able to get your messages out there. I think, look, working out of college, I could not control every single tweet that was put out there by faculty, by students, by administrators, by parents, by neighbors. So, but what I would do is at least monitor what was being said. If it was, positive, maybe I'd send the person a thank you note, retweet what they said. If it was a negative, I might, again, depending upon who was doing it. I mean, there are some people who, they're just going to hate your company, your college, no matter what you do or say or whatever it happens to be. but maybe you can reach out and answer a question for somebody. I was mad today flying back from Delta because my gate was switched in Detroit 6 times today, 6 times in an hour, and it's like we're like a comedy show, people in groups of 50 running back and forth from gate to gate to gate, and I don't do this all the time, but I said, come on, Delta, get your act together, and Delta contacted me and asked if I wanted to get on another flight. One more example from Marist. We had a bad hurricane a couple of years ago, and I don't know why a student did this, but a student put out a misinformed tweet that one of our buildings was destroyed in the hurricane. I happened to be on campus at that time, took a picture of the building, said, showed that it was still standing, and asked that student, not to put out false information anymore. Boom. It was done and over in less than 5 minutes. So, it can be a 24/7 type of job. You do have to keep an eye about what's being said about you. You do respond when necessary, and you can't just rely on the marketing folks or the PR folks to carry the message for you. There are other people within your organization who, if they feel good about what they're doing and where they're doing it, can also be good messengers for you. And as Chris said, your customers are even better messengers for you as well.
So can I just add? I just wanted to add one thing. So I posted on the Facebook page. I said whoever asks the best question gets a free ticket to the Westchester Digital Summit on May 14th in Westchester. Okay. So I will allow you to select whomever you think asked the best question. Announce it whenever you want, and give me their first name, last name, email address, and I'll send a ticket. But I also wanted to let everybody know that tickets for students, everyone included on the call, are only $35. So it's very reasonable. We have Gary Vaynerchuk keynoting. We have digital executives from the Washington Redskins, from Heineken, from Iconics brands. There's a guy that manages 31 of their brands, including Rockaware and Joe Boxer. So lots of really interesting speakers. Brandon Steiner from Steiner Sports is speaking. Barry Alexander from Fox News will be there as well, sitting on a panel discussion. It's a one-day event, and it'll be a lot of fun. So if you guys are in the area, I know there's people kind of all over, but it's the Westchester Digital Summit. $35, not bad for a kind of killer day.
All right. I just posted a link to the summit in our chat window, Chris.
Cool.
Tim, any last comments from you?
Again, people have Twitter handle, connect on LinkedIn, Facebook. You have my email and everything. Feel free to stay in touch. There may be individual questions that you weren't able to answer in this kind of a format. You want to shoot a message of some kind to me, I'd be happy to respond to you. And just go out there and do it. That's it. Just go out there and experiment. It's still a little bit of, it's less of the wild, wild west than it was maybe a couple of years ago, but you're only limited by your own creativity, and I think just dip your toe in and go from there.
Okay, Chris.
That was pretty good. You gotta get involved in order to be able to critique it and be able to understand it. And I think people, to take the first step, right? Take that first step. I think Tim nailed it.
Well, again, I want to thank both of you for taking time late in your evening and after long days to share your wisdom. Students, thank you for attending. I know some of you may have had questions you wanted to ask, you didn't have time to ask, so I'm putting a link, a text into the chat window there with my email address. If you want to send your questions to me, I'll make sure Chris and Tim get them and we'll respond. And also
tweet them to me. I'll get back to you if you tweet them.
Or tweet them. And in the chat window, you'll see the handles for both Tim and Chris on Twitter. So again, thanks, students, for joining us. Tim, Chris, thank you again. It's been a pleasure to work with you both. And Chris, hope to see you at the summit. And Tim, maybe stay on campus sometime soon.
All right, great. And thanks for the opportunity as well. And Chris, great to connect with you again.
You too, Tim. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.